From Mortal to Divine, a Cultivation Epic, Episode 8. In order to help improve the Feng Shui for the Zhao family, Old Chen and his son, Xiaobian, arrived at the doorstep of a house in the village in the late evening. "Dad, look, he's not home. Shouldn't we go back?" Xiaobian approached the door and knocked a couple of times. Seeing no one coming to answer, he suggested to his dad that the homeowner was not home and they should go back. It seemed like he was somewhat fearful of something. Before he could finish speaking, the doors suddenly creaked open, startling Xiaobian, who quickly took 2 steps back. "Oh, it's Master Chen and Xiaobian. What a rare visit. A rare visit." As soon as the man saw that it was Old Chen and Xiaobian who had come, a smile immediately appeared on his face. He seemed to admire Old Chen greatly. The man was quite tall, standing at least 19 meters tall, with a strong physique. But at this moment, he was covered in blood, and he held a blood-stained dagger in his hand, giving the impression of a fearsome deity. "Just butchered a pig. Haven't even drained the blood yet. Please come inside. Lao Qi, did you slaughter a pig today?" This butcher named Qi welcomed Old Chen into the courtyard, showing great respect. However, Xiaobian, standing beside them, had a fearful expression ever since the man had come out. As soon as they entered the courtyard, they saw a large fat pig that had just been slaughtered, lying on the ground waiting to be boiled and dismembered. "Is this enough? I'll slaughter another one later. The more, the better. Just give me all of it." Old Chen had come here to obtain some pig blood, and the butcher readily agreed without hesitation. "Is this sufficient? I'll slaughter another one later. The more, the better. Just give me all of it." Old Chen had come here to obtain some pig blood, and the butcher readily agreed without hesitation. "Let's go, Master Chen. Little Chen, come visit often in the future." With 2 containers of pig blood in tow, they left the butcher's house. "What's wrong? You're already this big, yet you're still so afraid of him." "Well, I am really scared." Xiaobian pushed the cart uphill toward the North Mountain, and only then did he breathe a sigh of relief. He slowly recovered from his fear. "Dad, it's really strange. I get chills all over when I see him." Xiaobian couldn't figure out why he had always been afraid of the butcher, even though he knew the butcher was actually quite nice to him. He couldn't control that feeling of fear. "You've been physically weak since childhood, and you have a pure yin constitution. It's natural to be fearful of someone with such a strong aura of death. I've never been so scared of anyone." Old Chen understood that this was due to his son's unique constitution, and in life, many people naturally feel fear when they encounter individuals with such a strong aura of death. "He's a good person. When you were a child, he gave you the pig crystal. That doesn't change the fact that I'm afraid of him." Father and son continued chatting as they made their way to the Zhao family's ancestral tomb on the North Mountain. "Dad, what are you doing?" On the way, the 2 of them found some bamboo and squatted down in the Zhao family's burial ground to prepare for improving the Feng Shui. "You pay attention and learn well. This place is considered a desolate area and not suitable for burial. I'm here to turn it into a corpse-rearing ground." Old Chen made a pile of fire, continuously burning an iron piece, and while making preparations, he explained some Feng Shui theories to Chen Xiaobian. Just watch as Old Chen inserted the red-hot iron piece into a bamboo tube, causing white smoke to billow out from the bamboo tube. In a moment, the bamboo tube's joints were burnt through. Starting from this point, insert all the bamboo tubes according to the hexagram. "All right, I understand." Old Chen instructed Xiaobian to insert these bamboo tubes around the tomb of the Zhao family's old master, following the directions of the hexagram into the ground. Xiaobian worked efficiently, picking up a stone and hammering all the bamboo tubes into the ground. "Dad, I'm done." In no time, all the bamboo tubes were placed in their designated positions. "Good. Pour the pig's blood into the bamboo tubes. All right. At this moment, the pig's blood from the butcher's house finally came in handy. Dad, what's the use of pouring pig's blood? Chen Xiaobian followed old Chen's instructions and used a water ladle to pour all the pig's blood down the bamboo tubes. However, he still didn't understand what his father was trying to do. This is for cultivating a blood quartz. We use animal blood to artificially create a corpse-rearing ground. Old Chen found a rock to sit on, lit up a pipe, and began to explain the art of cultivating a blood quartz to Chen Xiaobian. Using blood to raise a corpse is similar to the ancient practice of offering live sacrifices, all in order to nourish the vitality of the land. The area where the Zhao family's old master was buried belonged to a desolate area known as the White Tiger's Severed Waste in Feng Shui. It was an area with extremely weak vitality. Old Chen used a large amount of pig's blood to enhance the vitality, allowing the vitality of the hillside to shift and improve the Feng Shui. Dad, that doesn't seem right. Didn't you say before that blood corpse grounds are ominous? Not a good thing. Upon hearing that old Chen wanted to use blood to raise a corpse, Chen Xiaobian became puzzled. His father had told him countless times about the horrors of encountering blood corpse grounds during tomb raiding. You remember quite clearly, young man. It's true that blood corpse grounds can give rise to zombies, but Zhou Lao Tu is already nothing more than a skeleton. He won't undergo corpse transformation anymore. Old Chen took a couple of puffs of his pipe and explained that he was creating a blood corpse rearing ground because the old Master Zhao had already decomposed into bones and wouldn't transform into a blood corpse. Instead, this would help restore vitality to the tomb, benefiting future generations from unfavorable feng shui. To grave robbers, this blood corpse ground is a dangerous place, but for the tomb owner, it's quite beneficial. It's an example of rejoicing in the land of one's ancestors. I had chosen a blood corpse ground for the Zhao family's ancestors before. Old Chen continued the conversation with Chen Xiaobian, explaining that he had previously chosen a typical blood corpse ground for the Zhao family's ancestors. There's another ancient tomb below it. I went down there myself after selecting it. Old Chen recalled how, after selecting that burial site, he had discovered another ancient tomb underneath it. He had ventured down alone. Back then, Old Chen, in order to choose a grave for the Zhao family, had observed this area on the hillside for a long time. He finally identified a suitable grave and tied a coffin nail to a long bamboo pole to probe the ground. When he had dug to a depth of about 10 meters underground, Old Chen suddenly felt something. He pulled the bamboo pole outward and found that the soil brought up by the hooked coffin nail was red. He was immediately surprised, wondering if there was something more beneath. Out of curiosity, Old Chen returned to this place that night and dug a thief hole to take a look inside. Old Chen spent more than half an hour to open the tomb, but that night, he had no intention of grave robbing. Instead, he stood there with a shovel, looking down carefully. Old Chen had a precise estimation of the location. When he inserted a phosphorus tube, the light revealed that the thief hole was right above the coffin. Old Chen said that originally he just wanted to confirm the existence of a tomb below, but when he saw the coffin, he couldn't resist the temptation. He decided to open it and see what was inside. At that moment, he took out the coffin nail rope he always carried with him. It was his treasure for opening coffins. Old Chen aimed at the location of the coffin, exerted force, and the coffin nail rope pierced down. This coffin nail rope was modified from an old coffin nail. Its front end was exceptionally sharp. Combined with the aged and less sturdy wood of the coffin, it easily penetrated through the coffin board and with a backward pull, hooked onto the coffin lid. Worried that one rope wouldn't be enough, he used 4 in succession, each coffin nail rope securely hooking the coffin board. He pressed against the walls of the thief hole with his feet, applied force with both hands, and the 4 coffin nail ropes tightly gripped. Old Chen applied force from his waist, and with a crack, the coffin board was pulled up. As the coffin lid opened, the contents inside the coffin were revealed to Old Chen, shocking him instantly. The corpse inside the coffin had been buried for who knows how many centuries, but it had not decayed. Instead, it was immersed in a dark red pool of blood, turned into a blood corpse. Perhaps because the opening of the coffin lid had alarmed the blood corpse, Old Chen suddenly noticed that the blood corpse had opened its eyes and widened its mouth. While Old Chen was momentarily stunned, the blood corpse crawled out of that dark red liquid. Finally, it stood up straight. Due to the narrowness of the thief hole, Old Chen couldn't see the entire appearance of the blood corpse at this moment. But the blood corpse had obviously detected Old Chen's presence, and it took a step back, tilting its head to stare directly at him. Old Chen had no intention of going down, merely curious to take a look. Of course, he didn't want a direct confrontation with the blood corpse, so he shook his hands and retracted the 4 coffin nail ropes he had shot out earlier. By this time, the blood corpse had locked its gaze firmly on Old Chen. It seemed that with a bit more adjustment, it would jump up and attack. Old Chen wouldn't give it that opportunity. He selected one of the coffin nail ropes that had been used for over 100 years, and with a flick of his hand, he shot it out. The blood corpse was unaware of the power of this coffin nail rope. Seeing Old Chen launch an attack, it kept shaking its body, preparing to attack. However, by now, the coffin nail rope had wrapped around it. Old Chen pulled both hands back, and the coffin nail rope wound tightly around the blood corpse's body. The steel wires on the rope had been exposed to the scorching sun for several years and tempered with black dog's blood. Once it touched the blood corpse, red smoke began to rise. The coffin nail rope was tightly coiled around its body, but this didn't pose a great threat. It was just momentarily difficult to break free, so the blood corpse stood in place, constantly making strange cries. Old Chen paid no attention to this and threw the coffin nail rope aside, quickly exiting the thief hole. However, he knew that this problem would arise sooner or later. Fortunately, the blood corpse was still struggling to break free, and Old Chen took this opportunity to cut many willow branches and firmly sealed the entrance of the thief hole. By this time, the blood corpse had managed to free itself from the coffin nail rope, but the branches kept it trapped, and it couldn't come out for a while. It could only open its mouth and cry in frustration. Old Chen covered the thief hole with several layers of willow branches and placed a large blue stone with a sealing corpse talisman on top. Then he filled the thief hole with soil, completely sealing the blood corpse inside. Later, the father of that Mr. Zhao was buried on top of that ancient tomb, harnessing the vitality of the blood corpse land, gradually forming the phenomenon of treasure emerging from the coffin. Old Chen buried the blood corpse that night, allowing the ancestor of the Zhao family to be buried on top of the ancient tomb. Although this burial method had taboos, the ancient tomb no longer had any souls, only a brainless blood corpse, so it wasn't a problem. "Oh, Dad, we're done with the pouring." As he spoke, Chen Xiaobian had already used up all the pig's blood he had brought and poured it into the 6 bamboo tubes. "All right, let's go. It won't take long for the blood corpse land to form, and the Zhao family's descendants will be safe." Old Chen dusted off the dirt on his buttocks and stood up, instructing Chen Xiaobian to pack their things and get ready to leave, because Mr. Zhao's wish was simple back then, to ensure the safety of his descendants. Old Chen didn't want to linger. By now, the moon had reached its zenith, and the villagers had already entered dreamland. In the midst of these remote mountains and wilderness, Chen and his son finished packing and were about to descend the mountain. "You've been acting unusual tonight. Is there something on your mind?" On the way back, Old Chen couldn't help but notice that his son had been in a good mood since hearing about the blood corpse tomb they had entered earlier. "You worked so hard today without complaining or throwing a tantrum. That's not like you." "Hey, Dad, since the ancestors of the Zhao family have moved away from the blood corpse tomb, can't we go down and take a look?" As expected, the reason his son had worked so hard tonight was that he wanted to accompany Old Chen to explore the blood corpse tomb. "Haha, Dad, you know me too well. I knew you must have something on your mind." In fact, when Old Chen shared this story with his son tonight, it was with this intention in mind. His son was of a suitable age to start gaining experience. "Really? That's great. All right, I'll take you down to see it." Upon hearing Old Chen's agreement, Chen Qiubian was so delighted that he nearly jumped for joy. "Dad, do you think there might be many treasures inside?" However, his main concern was the treasures within the tomb, which made Old Chen worry about whether his son would achieve great success in the future.